When Bluestreak first showed up in the Transformers Skybound comics, I think it's safe to say that fans were shocked at what he had become. Long gone was the blabbering buddy we all knew and loved to not fully listen to, and in his place was a soldier who had been fighting on the front lines for centuries. In issue 15, a stranded cliffjumper meets up with Bluestreak, who seems normal at first, greeting his longtime buddy and focusing on everyone's safety first. Bluestreak carries a wounded Warpath to safety as he instructs Cliff and Blur to move along as they're being hunted. Noticeably, though, Bluestreak tells Warpath to forget about their fallen brethren. They're too far gone. This is the first glimpse of what life is like on Cybertron now. Bluestreak is no slouch, though, as we watch him expertly and brutally execute Ramjet. This entire ordeal is a shock to Cliffjumper, for good reason. It's not that Bluestreak kills an enemy combatant, it's that he stabs the Decepticon in the back and harvests the energon leaking from the wound. Bluestreak knows that he has changed, but only because Cybertron has changed. Cliffjumper doesn't understand what hell he and the others have gone through. Bluestreak even follows along with Alita's opinions on Optimus and scoffs at the idea of being sympathetic to their enemy. Bluestreak isn't fully won over to Alita's mindset, though, as later he encourages her to consider Cliffjumper's insane plan to storm the Well of Sparks. You see, he may be a warrior forged by endless conflict, but Bluestreak still tries his best to search for an end to this war. He admits that none of them have hope anymore, but that maybe, just maybe, new life could bring back that hope into Cybertron. Jorge Corona does an incredible job showing us the hurt on Bluestreak's face as he says this. You can tell that he is desperate, and even worse, he is inconsolable in the fact that he has no more hope in his own spark. Alita's flavor of leadership is then tested by our red and gray bot when she once again gets into an argument with Cliffjumper about Optimus Prime's decision to leave home. For the first time, Bluestreak stands up to the endless anger spewing from his commander. Optimus may not have come home, but he has turned the tide of the war by killing Shockwave. But his next line cuts deep when he says, "You talk like no one else has lost someone." This is Bluestreak's final stand, not just against the ever-present doom that Alita brings to her soldiers, but it is in fact his own last grasp at a concept thought long lost. The spark canister that Cliff has obtained is a gift, and with that knowledge, it is Bluestreak who rallies the troops to action, but also then gives Alita the chance to do what's right and fight for the future. Bluestreak leads the charge of the assault on the Well of Sparks, and while he's absent from the creation of Shredhead, he is no doubt instrumental to the success of this mission. Pinned down by Decepticon fire, Bluestreak and his men are saved by the newly born warrior and watch in awe as they realize that hope is indeed still possible to be found. Even Alita recognizes this monumental change in the tide of the war and celebrates this gift from Primus himself. Bluestreak has a minor role following these events, mainly acting as exposition that he reconstructed the space bridge, only has enough energon to send back one warrior. He is called upon again by his commanding officer, Alita, to arrest Cliffjumper following his hijinks, but again, the comic at this point focuses on wrapping up the battle between Optimus and Megatron in favor of spending more time on Cybertron. Bluestreak's story does continue on in later issues, yes, but as the title of this video mentions, I'm only focusing on Daniel Warren Johnson's run for the time being. Bluestreak doesn't necessarily have a big ending here, but that's because his small but impactful story arc has already been completed. He is introduced as a bot who has evolved alongside the war, maybe even regressed in his moral ways. In war, you must kill the enemy, but Bluestreak has become so good at it it frightens his brothers in arms. Even in this darkness, though, Bluestreak is able to admit his own shortcomings and stand up against the authority above him and fight for something he himself doesn't have anymore: hope. And in seeing new life created and the tide of the war changed, Bluestreak feels that hope rekindled in his own spark, even though the tide of the war will continue to switch back and forth constantly. There is no doubt that his relationship with Alita is a tumultuous one. You can see it again on his face, as drawn by Jorge Corona. He follows Alita because she is the commanding officer on Cybertron, and she has kept them alive, but he really is struggling with the decisions that she's made, especially in arresting Cliffjumper. How he will act and what he will do moving forward, again, is covered by Robert Kirkman's time as the writer. Something that we'll cover in time, but not for today. I think it's really important to take a look at even some of these smaller characters like Bluestreak, who, again, may not have the largest story arc, but still have a lot to say in their actions. From being a backstabber, of course, again, Ramjet is a Decepticon. It's not like we're supposed to, the Autobots are supposed to shake his hand and be friends, but it's noticeable from Cliff's point of view that this is a different world. This is a brutal world. This is an unforgiving, bastardized version of Cybertron, and that is the way that it is. The war has corrupted everything. I really like the fact that Bluestreak has been put in this situation, that he's kind of the second in command for Alita, and that he has the ability to stand up against her and really kind of have this rallying call, this battle cry for these Autobots who have lost hope to fight for that hope that they no longer have. I think it was smart to put a second-in-command character for Alita have so much of his own authority in speaking out against her. It really shows that while she is the leader, and again, while a lot of people find her decisions to be reprehensible, there are still characters around her who are making the correct choices and who are maybe a little more open-minded and forgiving than her. But again, I think that ultimately Bluestreak and these other characters are in service of Alita, and they show us the type of character she has become, while also doing interesting things with their own characteristics. Bluestreak is awesome. I'm glad he was in the comic. I hope to see more of him moving forward, and I'd love to know what you guys think as well about his character. If you want to join the conversation, I've got a link down in the description below to join the Discord. It's just $1 to get in. We do monthly Energon Universe calls, we do polls, we do game nights, movie nights. It's a lot of fun in there, and I hope to see you in there. We can talk about Bluestreak or some of the other characters that I'm going to be covering up on the channel. See you guys later.